We are 3 weeks away from the beginning of the season of self-love, and I had a really great video unveiling, unpacking how solo sex solves sexual problems. And guess what? It's corrupt or broken or so technologically advanced that I can't figure out how to get it off my computer and onto the interweb. So we're going to do something a little bit different, and I'm just going to talk you through it right here, right now, as I get ready. Come be on a little adventure with me today. We're doing this raw and uncut, so you see me here with all of my blemishes. Look, when we talk about sexual shame and sexual problems and, anger and anxiety and avoidance of sex and pleasure, that's the raw deal. So I'm just gonna try coming to you super raw. Because look, we all have fucking blemishes, right? We all have some kind of blemish that we really don't want people to see, that we hide away under makeup or just completely avoid and try never talking about that. And for many of us, that's what sex is. That's what our sexual problem, our sexual struggle, our sexual shame, our sexual embarrassment. We try to just spackle it over with a little bit of concealer or shove it under the bed and hope that we never really have to deal with it. And then when it comes time to actually deal with it, we freak out. In my capacity as a teacher and a mentor and a sexological body worker and a coach, people come to me with all kinds of complaints and declarations of sexual problems, from I hate my body, I'm totally gross, I don't see how anybody else could love me, to I don't come, I don't get an erection, I come too soon, I'm not having an orgasm, or when I get excited, I focus on everything that my partner may want, but I don't even think about anything that I want. I totally shut down. I just perform for them. I also hear people saying, I don't know anything about masturbation. I was never taught anything. Nobody ever talked to me about masturbation. I don't know what to do. I don't know my body. I don't know how to explain to my partner what I want. I don't know what I want. I don't know what to do. And then there are kind of the relationship stuff. Like, I just broke up with my partner and I'm so brokenhearted that I don't even want to think about pleasure. Or my partner cheated on me and there is no effing way that I'm going to be having sex with him or with anybody else. I'm totally done. I'm done. I'm done with sex and pleasure. That's what got me into this in the first place. One woman told me, my husband has been the breadwinner all of these years, and I just thought that sex was me paying the rent. And I have never enjoyed sex with him. I have never really liked it. It's never really been good for me. People also say, I have been in an abusive relationship and I don't know how to trust my body anymore. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't tell what I want. And others say, look, masturbating is super boring. I just put the vibrator on my clit and nothing happens. I've been masturbating the same way since I was a teenager and I'm 55 now. If I masturbate, will God still love me? I have been taught and told that masturbation is bad and it's a sin, and that if I do it, that I won't have love. I won't be loved. I'm not okay. I won't be able to exist in the world. If you recognize yourself in any of these statements, good, because they're common. These are the things that I commonly hear over and over and over again. I believe that the relationship that we have with ourselves, especially the sexual relationship, influences every single relationship that we have in our life, from friends and family to partners and lovers to how we relate to work and play and society, to this planet, our one and only home. The relationship that we have with ourselves is going to impact everything. And I also believe that masturbation is one of the very best places where we can explore and discover and create our own sexuality, because we don't have to wait for anybody else to figure us out. We don't have to pretend. We don't have to perform. We don't have to do anything that we don't want to do. Masturbating is a place where we take responsibility for ourselves. We take our pleasure and our sexuality seriously. When we take control of our own sexuality, it means that we cannot make somebody else responsible for our happiness, for our pleasure, for our orgasm, for our sexual functioning. And for some of us, that can be really great. I love to be in charge. I love to be in control. I am naturally dominant and bossy, and I like to direct how things go for me. For many of you out there, making choices is pretty difficult. It means that you have to step up and you have to be in control. You have to be the one to be the leader of your own sexuality and your own sexual experience, because we live in a culture that consistently tells us that our choices, our wants, our desires, and our needs are irrelevant, and we should just pack them up and repress them in and not say anything about them. That for many of you, making choices is very, very difficult. Making choices and being the leader of your own sexuality is really difficult. It means that you can't really depend on somebody else to drive the ship. But it also means that nobody else is responsible for you. It means that there's nobody else to blame, and there's nobody else to take credit for you enjoying your body, feeling really good about who you are, and living audaciously in your own skin. And when you take control of your own sexuality and you take responsibility for yourself, then that also means that nobody can take that shit away from you. Nobody. No bad relationship, no breadwinning husband, no partner, no preacher, no teacher, no lover, no parent can take that away from you. I want to give you 3 examples of how solo sex solves sexual problems. Solo sex solving sexual problems. Here we go. Number one. John came to me because his chief complaint was early ejaculation. He wanted to last longer. He wanted his erection to last longer. He wanted to have more intercourse, and he wanted it to be more fun. Upon further digging in, we discovered that not only was John coming earlier than he wanted to, but that his wife was pissed off. She did not want to have intercourse. In fact, she was turning away from him. She was like, I don't want to have anything to do with that, because she wasn't getting what she needed. Her needs were not being fulfilled. Her desires were not being fulfilled. Sex was not fun for her at all. They worked for the same company, they worked in the same office, and they had 2 young, small children. There were a lot of elements in their life that made it really easy for them to avoid sex, and they did. Early ejaculation and not having an orgasm, and sometimes struggling with erection, is about regulation. So what I mean by regulation is about coordinating your breath with your movement, with your sound, with your awareness. It means paying attention to what is really important, like the pleasure, the sensations, your partner's body, being able to notice what it feels like for you to be alive in the current moment, rather than worrying about whether or not you're going to come too soon or you're going to come at all, or worrying about what your partner thinks or what your partner wants, or whether or not your partner's having a good time. Being aware is being present. It's being here in the here and now. It's noticing that you are touching your body at the same time that you are breathing. Breath. Most of us hold our breath when we get excited and when we get scared. And so we diminish our capacity to feel. And when we do that, it makes it harder for us to be present in the current moment. So coordinating breath with awareness, coordinating breath with movement. How do you move your body? Do you thrust your hips? Do you move side to side? Do you move your hands all over your body and all over your skin? Do you wiggle your shoulders around like I just did? How do you touch your own genitals? Coordinating breath with movement helps to direct the sexual energy down to your toes to the very top of your head so that you can have a full body experience. Your genitalia makes up about 5% of the human body, your human body. And when you concentrate only your sexual energy, your sexual experience, the sensations and the pleasure and the attention just at your genitals, it means that you cut off the other 95% of your body. So coordinating breath with movement, with awareness and sound, what you say out loud, the moans that you might make, the giggles, the laughter, the asking for what you want, the saying, I want something different, or ow, you're pulling my hair. When we coordinate all of those things and we allow all of those parts of us to show up and express, then we really incorporate 100% of our body. And by doing so, we're able to regulate our erotic experience. That means that we can get over the hump, over the plateau, and into orgasm. It means that we can elongate our erection or our intercourse or our erotic experience because we're using the tools that we have in our own body in order to do that. So after working with John for 8 weeks, he reported that his wife was a lot happier because not only was he lasting longer, but he was more verbal. He was saying exactly what he wanted. He was paying more attention to her and to him. He was able to read her body cues and her nonverbal language and really attend to her. She was having more fun. She was enjoying herself a lot more. And the ripple effect of that was that they had a better co-working relationship in their workplace. It was easier for them to put the kids down at night and to get them ready in the morning to go to school, and that overall their life was a lot happier. You know, he said to me, I had no idea that if I just changed the way that I jerk off, that it would change my entire life. The second example comes to you via a student of mine who I've worked with for a number of years. Laura is fantastic, and she is curious and dedicated and shows up and digs deep and dives in. And when we first started working together, she consistently told me that there wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough time for solo sex. There wasn't really enough time in her schedule to do anything different, that her schedule was really on lockdown, even though she really wanted to do something. Her solo sex practice was about putting a time on the calendar and showing up for herself. Multiple times she just didn't even show up. She would write it down on the calendar and she wouldn't show up. And then she started showing up, but she was late. And then she started showing up and she was on time, but she was frazzled and anxious and upset, and she didn't feel like she was ready. And by the time she felt like she was ready, the time that she had allotted was already up. She realized that in her sexual relationship with a partner, she consistently was deferring to what their desires were. She was showing up for them, but she wasn't really showing up for herself. In other words, when her partner would state a desire in the bedroom for how he wanted to play, she would go along. Even if she wanted something different, she would say, okay, well, let's just see what happens. She noticed that she was doing that in community as well. She was saying yes to projects or meetings or committees or activities with other people that she wasn't really excited about. She wasn't jazzed about. She wasn't a big yes about. She was just like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I can do that. She believed that it was a good thing to do. She was not fulfilled or turned on or nourished or enlivened or excited about it. So the solo sex practice that we did was less about regulation, which I just told you about, and more about presence, more about showing up for yourself, more about recognizing that the time that you give to yourself is precious and it's lovely. And when you take that away from yourself, you can wind up feeling drained and ragged and depressed and anxious and not really on your own path. Her solo sex practice was reaffirming her own worth, that her time, the time that she gives to herself, is valuable, that she is deserving of that time to be with her own body, to discover who she is as a sexual creature, and to set the necessary boundaries in her relationships and in her community in order to do that is not selfish. It's necessary. It's not a luxury that's reserved for someone else. It is an absolute human need. This is the essence of how the relationship that we have with ourselves impacts all of our other relationships. Because as people who want to give, want to offer their gifts or their talent or their energy or their healing out into the world, we can't do those things if we're already drained. We can't expect somebody else to fill our cup for us or to be able to give when we have nothing left to give. And so her reaffirming of her own time and her own boundaries and her own necessity to be with herself allowed her to fill her own cup, so that she could be more present in the places that were really meaningful to her in the world. The third and final example is my own. I was in an abusive relationship. I was lied to, manipulated, stolen from, threatened, chased, stalked, and pushed around. It was the worst relationship I've ever been. It was the first time that I actually truly understood the difference between fearing that I was going to lose love and fearing that I was going to be really harmed. It was the first time that I called the police to my house. Twice. It was the first time that I filed a restraining order. It was the first time that I completely shut down and hid away from all my friends and didn't tell them what was going on because I was so ashamed. And in the process of being in that relationship, I was completely collapsing and trying not to be too big, trying not to make too many waves, trying to still have my own business and have friends. And it felt so messy. I felt so messy. And my solo sex practice was all about coming home to my body and reclaiming my sexuality as my own, because I traded sex for safety. And so I had to work on coming back to my own skin and bones so that my sexuality was not for somebody else. It was my own again. My solo sex practice was about reestablishing my strength, my validity. It was reestablishing that I know that I am a badass. My solo sex practice was deeply healing. I had so many moments of my own touching my body and being with myself where I cried big, giant, ugly crocodile tears of grief for all the ways that I stayed and hid out and tried to manage the situation and told myself that I could figure it out, or that I couldn't leave, or that I deserved what was happening. I cried big crocodile tears for the time that I wasted, for the pain that came with it. And those tears just washed over me, and they were healing, and they were necessary for my survival and for my thriving. My solo sex practice was about finding the joy of being in a human body again, about feeling into the places where it was good to giggle and laugh with myself, where my orgasm could be laughter and joyful and totally my own again, where my body, my sex, my orgasm, my play was not wrapped up in somebody else's desires or manipulations or wishes or weird, fucked up mind games. Reclaiming my sexuality for my own self and for my own skin was absolutely the purpose of my solo sex practice. And so I used regulation and time and reaffirming my own value to integrate back into my own body. My sex with my gut and my intuition, with my heart and my love and my compassion and my empathy for myself and for other people in the world, with my voice and saying what I want, naming my desires, putting it out there in the world, being more visible, and also integrating all of that with my intellect, my wisdom, my education, the things that I have learned in life, and put them all together. I didn't have to wait for somebody else to take care of me, to bring me pleasure, to be my protector, to take care of me, because I am the hero of my own story. I do not need to be saved. And that is magic. These are the things that I want to share with you in the season of self-love. I want to show you the nuts and bolts of bodies and how to do regulation so that you can have a better functioning experience. I want to reaffirm for you and be there with you when you rediscover and you accept that you are precious and beautiful and holy and worthwhile and valuable. I want this season of self-love to be a reclaiming, renewal, and rejuvenation of your own badassery so that you are fully in control of your life. You are absolutely in the driver's seat and you feel confident and vivacious and secure in making those choices for yourself. Solo sex absolutely solves a lot of problems, emotional, relational, sexual problems. It is the one place that you can be guaranteed that your actions will absolutely make a difference. It is the one place where you can affect change in your corner of the universe. And it is the one place where you can absolutely love yourself more deeply than ever before. When you join the season of self-love, you're going to be with a cohort that's going to come for all different kinds of reasons. And you will have the opportunity to work with me one-on-one, where you can tell me exactly what's going on for you, and I can give you the advice and the mentorship and the skills and the teaching and the wisdom that I have learned from doing this work for more than 10 years. The season of self-love is a deep dive into solo sex and masturbation so that you can love your body, eliminate shame, maximize your pleasure and make your wildest dreams come true. If you feel called here, this is absolutely for you. We start in September, so join us for the season of self-love. I promise you're gonna love it.